Now, President Cyril Ramaphosa has finally concluded his cabinet reshuffle. He's appointed Kgosientsho Ramokgopa as the all-important electricity minister. Our senior reporter Avu Mdila is getting reaction from South Africans this morning, and he joins us with the very latest from the South Africans. Good morning, Avu. So what are citizens saying beyond that reshuffle from last night?
Morning, Pundo. I just came back from the alliance partners of the African National Congress, as well as the SACP, that is trade union COSATU, which suggests that the cabinet itself is quite bloated, contrary to what the president said, coming in saying that he tried to keep a reduced cabinet. Also, just questions around, of course, those ministers in the cabinet that are tainted around allegations of corruption. But overall, the alliance partners seem to be quite satisfied with the changes made in cabinet. But let's find out now, get the business sense of it all from the Black Business Council, and the president is Elias Monage. Lomkhulu, thank you for joining us at eNCA. Your sentiment as business around what we heard and the reshuffling of cabinet yesterday.
Thanks, viewer and the viewers of your platform. I think we have a mixed feeling on the appointments. I mean, firstly, the cabinet is still bloated. We have lots of deputy ministers, and we still have a number of ministers that up until to this day, we don't know exactly what do they do. But overall, we I guess, wait and see. We're adopting a wait and see stance. Firstly, on the basis of this reshuffling, because that is president prerogative in terms of appointing and firing some of the ministers. That's the first thing. Secondly, where we are now, we are basically saying Paul Mashatile is the deputy president of the republic. He needs then to forge ahead as the government business relations person in forging ahead in engaging business on the broader recovery and the reconstruction issues, because business organizations were keen and willing to engage government on the economic aspects, so that we can then talk about industrialization, we can then talk about localization, we can talk about sustainability of energy. Because in the current situation that we are faced with, we have a serious problems in terms of energy crisis, load shedding, blackouts. It affects businesses severely so. And I think the appointment of Kgosientsho Ramokgopa is the right appointment, because he's a person who is action orientated, and hopefully the government or the presidential proclamation will then move certain powers and authorities to his ministry or to his department, so that he can efficiently and effectively move with speed in restoring security of energy in the country. So that's basically what we're looking at in terms of various aspects from this cabinet.
You took the next question right out of my mouth around the electricity crisis and the appointment of Dr. Kgosientsho Ramokgopa in that position. But do you believe that he'll receive the required support to keep the lights on?
I think there are a number of things. Firstly, they need then to look at appointing the CEO and the COO of Eskom as a matter of agency. In the absence of that, one of the positions that we have articulated as the Black Business Organization was to look at an interim executive that they can then be called upon previous people that have run Eskom to basically then come and assist the country in navigating the current challenges with energy crisis. That's the first thing. Secondly, when the president said last night, he will basically then do a proclamation to move and centralize certain powers to Dr. Kgosientsho's department. It then means certain powers from different entities, whether it's from Minister of Environmental Affairs, Minister of Mineral and Resource and Energy, Minister of DPE, Public Enterprise, all those powers that deals with electricity, if they were then to be centralized to his department, he can then efficiently and effectively then deals with the energy that we required as a country, as a society, in terms of harmonization and moving things ahead. The second part, I guess, it will then be getting a support from his colleagues so that he's a minister in his own right and therefore is equal like any other minister in cabinet responsible for electricity. And I think one of the things is that we should not even miss the boat in terms of one, stabilizing the maintenance, dealing with the base load, and finalizing the appropriate energy mix in terms of nuclear, coal and gas, so that the IPPs, they become an additional energy that is required. But we cannot then rely on the IPPs solely for industrialization as a country. So those are some of the things that for him to get a support is dependent on the president moving faster and quicker on the proclamation, including even the National Energy Crisis Committee, because you need them to deal with that, including even the communication for the entire country and engaging businesses so that everybody is then on board.
And when we spoke ahead of the cabinet reshuffle yesterday, you seemed to suggest that some of the ministers in the cabinet weren't fit for purpose. Did you see the changes that you would have wished would have happened? And do you think this cabinet then will inspire positivity in society?
I think there are three things. Firstly, some of the ministers, I think, in their portfolios, they were performing better and they were excelling. And for whatever reasons, they were then moved. I mean, you take a Minister of Communication, for an example. Now, for the first time, we then had a minister who understands the issues and forging ahead in taking the industry. And all of a sudden, they've been changed. We don't know why. The president have moved that minister then to somewhere else. And in exchange, then bringing Minister Mondli to communications and ICT, and that's part of the problem, because it then means people that they are working, they end up being moved around without any clear performance criteria that the president can share with business or the country at large. You also then have ministers that you don't know exactly why. For example, Minister of Women, Youth, and people living with disabilities. Now you take out Minister, the previous minister, and then you put Minister Nkosazana Dlamini to deal with the youth. And again, it's a mismatch because it doesn't make any sense. You bring somebody at the age of 74 to deal with the youth issues. And again, it then means the connection is not there. And that's part of the issues that we are saying. We have a mixed feeling in terms of that reconfiguration, because you move somebody who was not performing and then you bring somebody else to deal with the youth. And whereas if we're then to bring the youth at that portfolio, I guess they can then connect and do better things as opposed to what is happening. So these are some of the issues that, in the absence of a clear performance criteria from the president, it then becomes a major problem in terms of shifting and moving people around.
All right, thank you very much. Clear performance criteria is what is wanted by the Black Business Council. The president, of course, Elias Monage, just sharing some sentiments following that cabinet reshuffle. We'll be getting you more, of course, on the ground, various stakeholders and various civil society groupings as well, on how the cabinet reshuffle went for them.